I love that. I love that for us. This cannot be happening. Don't dilly-dally. The princess will soon be awake and expecting her new maids. I close my eyes and suppress the urge to groan. How is it that Laura was able to turn me into Emmeline's personal maid? She thought this would be funny, did she? Well, I will make her pay for this. Expect you not to be late again. We have very strict rules on how the palace staff should behave. I'm not exactly sure how Delora managed this. She told me she was going to cast a spell on me and that it would be over as soon as I opened my eyes. I closed my eyes and sure enough, when I opened them, I found myself here in the maid uniform. What did she do? The maid continues to babble at me. How annoying. I pretend to listen to her as she leads me through the palace hallways. Emmeline and Rod's chambers are located here. Oh! We come to a halt when Emmeline suddenly appears from around the corner. Your Highness. The maid ducks into a neat curtsy. Emmeline's eyes meet mine. I tense as I wait for any signs of recognition from her, but she only gives me a curious look as if wondering who I am. She clearly does not recognize me. The maid suddenly reaches back and pulls at my shoulder, forcing me into a bow. You're in front of the crown princess of Angelique. Show some respect, girl. My apologies, Your Highness. She is new and clearly needs to be taught some manners. Excuse me? Oh, please, there's no need for that. What is she trying to achieve by pretending to be kind to a palace maid? Who is she trying to fool? Your Highness, this is your new personal maid. Emmeline glances at the maid, looking confused. Why do I need a personal maid? It is by the king's orders, princess. Emmeline turns to look at me. What is your name? She's talking to you, girl. I scout the maid before facing Emmeline. Cannot believe I've fallen so low that I'm now being ordered around by a maid. Z. It's nice to meet you, Z. I hope we can get along. When I do not respond, Emmeline's face falls. I was just heading to breakfast with my family. Of course, Z will escort you to the dining hall. I raise my eyebrows at the maid, irritated. There's no need for concern. I can get there on my own. I breathe a sigh of relief. I'm not here to babysit her. The maid leans forward and whispers something in my ear. I don't know how it is that you landed this position, but you owe the royal family your diligence and respect. If you continue to show disrespect, I will be having a word with the king. The maid pushes me forward so that I am forced to stand next to Emmeline. She will escort you to the dining hall, Your Highness. Your job requires that she follow you everywhere in case you require assistance with anything. But it's almost time for breakfast, Princess Emmeline. Emmeline frowns and looks at me. I'm so sorry. What is she apologizing for? Good morning! Good morning. It seems that you have met your personal maid. The king's eyes widen as he spots me. You look familiar. No, he doesn't. He recognizes he's that commoner. Does he recognize me? I feel a little tremble in my heart as I consider that hope. Are you not the girl who came to the gates before? I deflate with a soundless sigh. He remembers me as the peasant. This is the first time I'm meeting you as Emmeline's personal maid. What is your name? Z. That is a lovely name. We're glad to have you here, Z. King gives me a warm smile. The softness of his gaze makes me angry. He never treated me so kindly when he remembered me as his own daughter. Emmeline takes her seat while I walk to stand at the walls beside the other maids and butlers. The door opens and Rod walks in. He greets the king, Ophelia, and then his sister. He's just about to take a seat when his eyes suddenly fall on me. Shock is apparent on his face. Rod, is there something wrong? God, that was awful. I'm sorry to hear that. I see there's a new maid on staff. His tone is almost accusatory. I bristle at his words, and I'm about to say something when Ophelia speaks. She is Emmeline's new personal maid, Z. Rod stares at me for a few moments. Oh my god, I said that with like no voice whatsoever. I'm so sorry. I mean, I guess it's better than her actual voice. For a few moments, his expression unreadable. Eventually, he moves to take a seat. I stand silent and watch the royal family eat their breakfast. The small area is filled with happy conversation. The four of them smile at each other when they speak, and it's easy to see how comfortable they are with one another. When I was still here, our meals were always so quiet. But everyone looks so happy now. I bite my lip to will the heavy feeling away. Rod told me that before, but I didn't want to believe him. I turned back to the conversation at hand. There's something very important to discuss with you, Emmeline. Oh? I brought this up before, but now the matter is more pressing. Is this about... Yes, this is about the ball. Ophelia gives the king a disapproving look. Dear, I know it seems a strange proposition, but this is a royal tradition. Emmeline is at a suitable marrying age, and this ball may yet help her find a suitor. But a husband? Emmeline's cheeks are tinted pink. A royal ball for Emmeline? For her to find a husband? I never would have agreed to such a thing. The king never forced me into one because he knew that. I want to force you to marry someone you do not love, Emmeline. We agreed on this ball to uphold tradition. All eligible bachelors will be invited in 4 months' time, and you will choose the man you want to court you. I did find my true love through a ball, after all. I glances at Ophelia, who responds with a fond smile. Her expression falls back into something more worried than she looks at her daughter. But what if I can't choose anyone? We'll throw one ball as tradition. We will not force you into another ball if you do not find a good suitor. But we must uphold traditions at least once. Perhaps this will push you to think more about the future. I will not put any added pressure on you, Emmeline, but I would be happy to see grandchildren before I have to give up my throne. I'm not getting any younger, you know. Father! I can't tell that the king is trying to make light of the situation, but there is an undertone of seriousness. Emmeline eventually sighs and slowly nods. I understand. My gaze shifts to Rod to search for a reaction, but his expression is impassive. No reaction at all. Did he know this was going to happen? But can I really be the princess, the king of Angeli? God, I hate the name of this place. Angel deserves? I feel so unprepared. You are the crown princess of Angel. You must be confident. Emmeline looks down, looking genuinely distressed. What did I say? Looking genuinely distressed. Okay, yeah. I'm finished. May I be excused? But sweetheart, you've barely touched your food. You may. Emmeline stands up and ducks into a quick curtsy before rushing from the room. I do not move until I feel Rod's glare on me. I realize that I am meant to follow Emmeline. Excuse me. I curtsy and follow after Emmeline. I barely make it a few steps away from the dining hall before the door files open and Rod is rushing after me. What are you doing here? I mean, we might as well just be honest, right? Right? This might be a saving moment, though. Yeah, we can just save over that. Answer him. I'm here to break my curse. Expected to believe that when you had people offering to help at the merchant? Rod's expression changes, anger clear in his eyes. No, I know why you're really here. You are really here. What are you talking about? You thought you might take back what is rightfully yours, didn't you? You have no qualm about hurting my family again. I stare at him, nonplussed by his accusations. I carefully quell the simmering anger inside me. The last thing I want is to be fired before I break my curse. I'm not here to hurt anyone, so stop accusing me of such things. We glare at each other in silence. I had always thought that Rod was closed off and quiet, but his emotions are always blazing in his eyes. You shouldn't be here. Rod steps back, but his gaze is still fierce. I do not have time for this. I'm going to find Emmeline. Why? So you can insult her? No, because it's not my job to attend to her. Excuse me. The last place I expected to find Emmeline was in the throne room. Much to my surprise, I find her standing alone inside, staring up at the throne. Oh. When she turns to face me, she has a guilty expression on her face. I'm sorry. What is she apologizing for? I was very rude earlier, walking out on everyone at breakfast. Emmeline's gaze back at the throne and sighs. I'm sure any other girl would be happy to have a ball. I mean, it's like something out of a fairy tale. But she sighs once again and looks down at her clasped hands. It's all so perfect in the fairy tales. 3 days is all it takes before everyone found their true love. But I don't think that's how it works out in real life, do you? I have nothing to say in response when Emmeline turns her beseeching gaze to me. I don't know how I'm supposed to marry someone I barely even know. Is this really what it means to be the crowned princess? Isn't this precisely what you wanted? Excuse me? When your mother married the king, you became a princess. You went from rags to riches overnight. I cannot keep the bitterness from my voice when I speak. Your life is playing out like Cinderella's, is it not? All you're missing are the glass slippers, and even then, I'm sure the king would arrange for a pair. I cannot understand why you're so unhappy. Neither can I. Emmeline turns away from me to face the throne once more, and in the sun that streams through the windows, I see something shining on her cheeks. Is she crying? I'm so ungrateful. Z, what would you do? What? If you were in my place, if you became crown princess overnight, would you go through with the ball? For the sake of Angiel's tradition, for the sake of your rule, I would never do anything so worthless. The king never brought up the subject with me. He most likely knew I would have refused. Emily suddenly pats her cheeks and turns to me, a weird smile on her face. What, we just... Is she not gonna react to what we just said there? Or no? Okay. I can do with some fresh air. Shall we go to my friend's shop in town? We have only just exited the throne room when Emmeline stopped short, and I almost bumped into her back. Oh. Your Highness, what a pleasant... Sir Mithras abruptly stops to stare at me. Why is Sir Mithras looking at me so intently? Does Izzy curse too? Is something the matter, Sir Mithras? No, nothing at all, Your Highness. I'm just amused. He knows! He knows! Amused? Oh, you haven't met my new maid. This is Z. Z? There's something in Sir Mithras' gaze that I do not trust. The silence is stifling, so I curtsy at him. Sir. Charming. Sir Mithras turns his attention back to Emmeline. Where are you off to on this pleasant day? Oh, just off to visit a friend. Make sure you bring your guards with you, princess. Of course. I wonder what's taken him so long. Emmeline decides to invite Rod to join us on our visit. One of the guards offered to get Rod for her, but he still has yet to return. He stands with us by the gates, ready to escort us into town. Why does the king even keep these incompetent fools if they cannot find a single person? Maybe we should go look for Rod. But then, what if he gets here as soon as we go searching for him? I sigh. I will go look for him. You can stay here. But you don't need to run errands for me. She has yet to ask me to do anything. What does she think a maid even does? I look at her solemnly, not answering, and finally she relents. Thank you, Z. I incline my head just slightly before walking off. I feel like a babysitter. I cannot believe I have to search for Rod. This is only slightly better than being dragged around by that broom. I turn around the corner and nearly bump into someone. I take a few steps back just in time. Yo, he's calling us princess. He knows. He's cursed too. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was like one of those locked options. Princess? I look up in shock. Fritz's surprise mirrors my own. Where have you been? I've been looking for you everywhere. Pauses to stare at my clothing. Why are you wearing a maid's uniform? Fritz, you remember who I am? I would never forget you, Princess Z. But it does seem like I am the only one who remembers you. What is going on, Princess? The only person who remembers me are the witches, fairies, and... Fritz, are you? I stop when I hear the sound of approaching footsteps. Fritz turns with the sound and then stoops low into a formal bow when he sees Rod. Your Highness. Rod's impassive face twists with annoyance when he sees me. Rod does not even acknowledge Fritz as he walks past him to stop in front of me. Should you be attending to my sister? I don't understand. Prince Rod, do you know why the princess is dressed like this? Rod is clearly just as surprised as I am that Fritz remembers me. You recognize her? You're the princess too? But if you knew, why didn't you say anything when we first went missing? Sure. Can someone explain to me why she's attending to Princess Emmeline? This is... Fritz. I cut him off before he can ask any more questions. I feel Rod's gaze on my back as I turn to look at Fritz. No more questions. But Princess, Right now I'm a palace maid. What? It's a long story and I have no time to explain now, so do not ask. Fritz is clearly discontent. He seems to struggle for a few moments before he finally sighs and nods. Yes, Your Highness. Though it is nice to hear someone here speak my title, it will not do if Fritz calls me that on accident. It is just Z for now. But I turn to face Rod. Emmeline is waiting. What? The guard cannot even deliver her message. Where are you going? Emmeline wants to visit her friend's shop in town, and she wants you to go with us, Rod. Town? Ordinarily, I would not mind Fritz joining us, but right now he might just be unnecessary company. He may very well give me away. Rod barely wants to speak with me when it is just the two of us. I doubt Fritz would make him more sociable. I'm assuming that the accompany you is not an option at this place. Yes? Fritz looks down for a moment before looking at Rod. I'm sorry to ask this of you, Your Highness, but since you refuse to let me do so, please look after Princess Z in my place. Ridiculous. I do not need to be coddled. Even if I did, Rod couldn't care less if I give him her. I will do my best, Sir Fitzgerald. I cannot tell if he's being genuine or not. Fritz bows to the both of us. I feel like I can't do a gravelly voice anymore. You gotta drink water. Stay safe, Prince. Z. And you, Your Highness. Rod turns and begins to walk away without another word. Come on.